everyone, and thanks for clicking on this video about toasters. So today we're going to be comparing the good versus the better. Many of us go out and buy appliances and we see appliances at the bottom end of the scale and we wonder, does this do the job? Should I buy this? Will it, in this case, cook the toast that I want? Many of us also have bought these products and found that in many cases they are quite suitable, they do the job. And when it comes time to replace them, we think, is it worth spending a bit more money to get something better? Or do I just replace what I already have? That's the dilemma that I found myself in, and I thought, as a small-time creator, I thought maybe I'd buy something and then do a little bit of a comparison to give you a bit more info so you can make an informed decision. On the right, we've got the toaster that I've had for the last 5 years. I bought it from Kmart. It cost about $40 or so, and it's done a pretty good job at cooking toast. Sure, I wouldn't say that my toast cooking experience has been 10 out of 10, but it's certainly been a solid 8. And I mean, 80% there is usually good enough for most people. But I was thinking about upgrading, and I did. On the left is a Breville appliance. It's a name brand appliance, so of course there's a little bit of more money attached to the name, and it cost $100. So I'm paying over twice as much for this product. Do I think it's going to be twice as good? No, and probably not really. But it does have some features I don't have on my original toaster, my Kmart toaster, that maybe make it worth the money. So let's try those things out. We're going to do a few tests and see what kind of product we can produce. We'll cook bread, bagels, raisin bread. So we'll thoroughly test how well the toast is cooked, but then we'll see if any of the extra features that I bought it for make it worth the money, or are they just gimmicks? So very quickly, here's my original toaster. As I said, it cost $40. What do I know that it can do? Well, I know that it can't cook the left side when you don't want the right side to cook. See, that just goes down and come up. If I want to cook 4 slices, I have to start with that side. In terms of functionality, we've got a slider. I do like the sound that it makes. It goes from 1 to 9. We've also got a reheat button, which I've never really used because, I don't know, reheat, what does that mean? I've left it there and I want to heat it up again, but then it might be a bit stale, so I never used that. We've got cancel. You can see I have used that because the writing has worn off. And then we've got defrost, and I didn't use that because I don't really freeze my bread. Not really a fan of that. We do have the ability to lift up if we want to get something out, like a muffin or something that's a bit harder to get out, but really, that's about it. That's that toaster. Next to it, we've got the Breville toaster. The book tells me that the model name of this is the Toast Control, and I suppose it makes a bit of sense because it does have a few extra features, which for me were the main selling point. I couldn't really spend $100 or even more on a toaster which just does the basic stuff. I think in that instance you're probably just paying for a brand. It's just a toaster with SMEG written on it, $200. I couldn't quite get over that line. But what are the features that I bought this Toast Control for? Okay, so for starters, I can cook both sides independently. That helps. Seconds, I have this function here, a bit more. Maybe it's exactly the same thing as the reheat button from the other toaster, but hey, they actually trademarked this phrase a bit more to suck in people who think, oh yeah, I could do with that. All right, we've got a bit more. We've got frozen. Once again, I don't care about that, but we do have fruit bread, which I eat and my family quite a bit of. Anyone who's tried to cook fruit bread before will know that you have to turn the dial down a little bit. Otherwise, you're definitely going to get a more overcooked product than the equivalent toast that you might have cooked with just regular bread. But how far do you turn it down? I mean, you could muck around and remember these things, but hey, this one's got a button. You just press it. That's easy, isn't it? The other feature that it's got that I kind of like is this lift and look. If you want to see how your toast is going, supposedly you can just lift it up and push it back down, and it doesn't interrupt the cooking cycle. So we're going to test those 3 things out today. See how it compares, see if I've wasted my money, and give you an informed decision. Okay, to start off with, white, regular, store-bought bread, cut to the sandwich thickness, because the toast one, well, that's just a bit extravagant, isn't it? Let's put them down, see how they cook. I'm gonna go with what I normally go, which is about 3.5 to 4 on this one. We'll try and find an equivalent for this, which we're just gonna go with just under 3. That's not even the right side. Let's go the right side, put them down, see how they cook. Okay, so we have 2 products. You notice that despite being around about the same speed, toaster on the right, the old toaster, she was a bit faster. Well, that will be interesting. Let's compare the product. Now, you notice I've put 2 slices in each. I was a little bit concerned that if I just put one, the cooking might be a bit uneven. Well, not so much uneven, but a bit not representative of what you would normally expect when there's 2 slices of cold toast to start out with in there. But let's have a look at the product. Okay, here's Breville. And here's Kmart. That's very interesting because the level of browning, whilst, it's about the same, despite the fact that the Kmart toaster took 20 seconds shorter. Now, I would imagine that that actually is a better thing, but who would think? Okay, so let's talk about how evenly they were cooked. We've got Kmart on the right, Breville on the left. I'm not seeing a huge amount of difference, if I'm honest. I think you'd have to be pretty, a real sort of person to be concerned about the differences that we're seeing here. But there we go. So, what have we learned? Well, Kmart toaster, faster, for a slightly less, not a problem to most people, level of evenness of cooking. So there we go. Round 1, I don't know, $40, $100 for the purposes of making just plain white toast, which I think is what most of us are going to do. I don't know about that extra spend. All right, let's try another test. Okay, so test number 2. We're going to test out the a bit more function. So to do that, we have to set these things up to undercook the toast. Let's just pull that down to about just under 3. And we'll pull this one down to 2. So the plan here, we're going to undercook it, we're going to try it a bit more, and then I'm going to try the reheat function and see if that's basically the same thing. Let's find out. Okay, so once again, the Kmart toaster, she's finished early. I'm going to talk while the other one's still cooking to save a bit of time. But it's interesting. When there was only one piece in, and I'm not sure if it's because of that or because I had the dial turned down further, there is definitely unevenness to talk about. That doesn't really look that, that's just slightly tinged bread, but that one looks more toasted. So let's see if the Breville produces a better product. But in the meantime, let's get this one back in on the reheat and see if we can get it just a little bit more. Okay, just discovered why the Breville one took that much longer, and it's because I moved the slider on the wrong side. But remember I was talking before about if you only have one piece of toast in, it may cook it a bit differently? Well, yes it does, because that's the same setting, and look how much browner, and it must be said a little bit uneven, that is, compared to when there were 2 pieces in there. So that's something to remember. Okay, I'm going to repeat this test and cut back to you when I remember to properly set the Breville up. But in terms of just a bit more, by the way, okay, what do we get? Okay, so there's the inside, there's the outside. So that uneven cooking when there's only one piece of toast, that carries over to the Breville. That wasn't even what I was trying out. All right, let's just go a bit more, see what it actually produces. Okay, so a little bit more time. It's a good feature in principle. How many of us have brought toast up, oh no, it's not cooked enough, I'll just put it on and then I'll come back and cancel it. Then of course you get distracted making coffee, putting dishes away, whatever. All of a sudden the smoke alarm's going off, People are going crazy, get the towels out. Oh no, she's wrecked, boys, she's wrecked. Let's try some bagels. Okay, so sesame seed bagel, cut somewhat in half. One in each side, remove the problem of that uneven cooking. Now, unlike some toasters, neither of these have a bagel setting. So we're going to have to turn up the dial, remembering to turn the right side of the Breville this time. We'll go 3.5, 3 and a bit, and we'll go up to 5. See what we get. Okay, we've got results on one side at least. And that's well cooked, possibly a little bit more than I would have hoped for, but oh, it's hot. Okay, here's the Breville. Comparison, yeah, same thing. Not exactly even. I don't know whether that's the way that I put it in the toaster, but it's odd because it's exactly the same issue that the one that I got out of the other side as I find some tongs. Lesson in observation. Here is the right side bagel from the Breville. And we can see a little bit undercooked on this part. And here's the right side from the Kmart toaster. Same issue. Left side has got the same problem from the Breville and from the Kmart. Similar. But look, if I was judging a head-to-head performance, I mean, I'd pretty much score them the same. So once again, no difference. So boys and girls, it's going to be down to the last test, which is the fruit bread. And it's make or break for the Breville, must be said. Let's load it up. Okay, everyone, time for the final test. It is the fruit bread. Now, for some reason, my household has purchased this decadent, what was it, cranberry and coconut bread or something like that. So, but the point is, with fruit breads, they have a high sugar content. That's why they need to cook for a lesser amount of time, because otherwise the sugars start to burn. They burn faster than just your average wheat bread. Now, I'm only going to cook this in the Breville toaster because we sort of know what sort of product we would get. What will we do with the Kmart one? Well, since it doesn't have a raisin bread, fruit bread function, you simply just, normally you turn it down by about 2. But then of course the whole point I was drawn to this function was that, then you forget to turn it back up for the regular toast and all that sort of first world problem type issues. But it's quite thick. I don't think I want it quite as long as that bagel was in for. Let's just go down to 3 and off we go. Now, if you're the kind of person that doesn't read the manual, which is most people, you probably stuff this up the first time because pressing that button once actually puts it on the frozen setting, which means it's going to cook longer. You have to press it twice, comes red fruit bread. Let's see what happens. All right, just come up, let's have a look. Well, I don't know that I'm too impressed with that. I mean, it's not raw. There has been some cooking in touching it, but the unevenness isn't great on that side. Now let's look on this side. Yeah, once again, the outside elements, maybe the outside elements just don't come on when you do fruit bread. I don't know, but it's not great. Let's just try it out a bit more. Okay, so frozen fruit bread and a bit more don't work together. So, actually, now they do. All right, well, let's see what happens. And that does not seem like anywhere near the amount of time to create any sort of difference. And it didn't. All right, conclusions from what we've tested today. All right, look, if you don't like my methodology, feel free to write it in the comments. I'm happy to take all sorts of constructive abuse. But from what I've seen today, remember, Breville, it's like 150% or 125% more expensive than this one. I can't say anything about the long-term reliability of that model because I've just bought it. This thing's been going for 5 years. The quality of the toast that the Breville makes seems to be basically no different. We're talking about single-digit percentage increases better than what we get out of this. Aesthetics, because aesthetics has to play into it. Okay, sure, we've got a nice brushed stainless, brushed chrome front, mirror stainless on the side, which of course you have to keep clean, but it does look nice when you do keep it clean. This thing, possibly not the most pretty toaster in the world, but it did look nice in that when it was new. You can get different colors. You do have Breville written on the side. Okay, I mean, it's an okay brand. Obviously, this is when the SMEG argument comes in, because you get your, oh, you must be rich, you've got SMEG. Well, talk to Dave Ramsey. What about the extra features? That's what got it in. I don't know, it's pushing towards gimmick level. I haven't really seen too much improvement from these extra features so far out of the box. I mean, sure, I can muck around with it forever and ever and perfect it, but who does that with a toaster? I mean, you don't. You expect these things to work out of the box if they're going to work at all. A bit more, yeah, okay, it just cooked it for another 10 seconds. Yeah, wow. Maybe that needs to be a bit longer. The fruit bed setting, I feel that the fruit bread setting may have actually contributed to the fruit bread not even being cooked evenly on both sides. Maybe that's what you're supposed to get with fruit bread, but I don't know. Normally I expect it to be cooked on both sides. So, if I had my choice again, would I buy the Breville? Would I buy the Kmart machine? Well, look, if I was being smart and rational, there'd be no reason not to go with that every time. $60, you know? You could buy 2 of them if you wanted to. You could toast 8 pieces of bread at the same time, who knows? But, of course, companies like Breville, SMEG, KitchenAid, all that, they do know that the human condition is not one that is always rational. Possibly that's why they can produce products like that. They trade on a name that did produce a very reliable product. The extra features, yeah, not adding to it. Aesthetics, subjective. Cooking the toast, no real difference. Reliability, can't vouch for that, can vouch for that. So, I mean, 5 years seems like a pretty good amount of time to get out of. Even if that broke, I wouldn't be upset. Like 5 years out of $40 for a toaster, that's all right. Ultimately, you got to make up your own mind about these things. Obviously, I'm not getting paid by anyone. I'm certainly not getting paid by Breville with that kind of review. At the end of the day, you got to do your own research, buy a product that you think will work for you, and then prepared to go forward with the consequences of your choices. Thanks for watching.